the eerie, mysterious lady from Bristol. Who is she? Let's have a look. And welcome back to the Brac Shop. And this is the portal to the paranormal, the spiritual, and the unexplained. And I'm Tom from the shop. And welcome back to another episode. This time we're looking at the veiled lady in Bristol. Now she's found high up on a top of a shop. And she's not the only one. There's actually three others with her, making them 4 heads above the shop. And today it's now a restaurant called the Mugshot. But what is she doing there, and why is she veiled? The others don't have a veil, and it looks like she's the only woman there out of the 4. So what is her story? Some people say she's a bit creepy, a bit eerie, that she's covered up and yet on the top of the shop. Well, let's have a look. And don't forget, if you find this episode interesting, entertaining, tell your friends, share the video, and press the like button. And also subscribe if you haven't subscribed as yet. And press the bell and the notification bell. And that way you won't miss out on our other episodes. So what is this lady doing there? Well, I discovered her on my quick trip through Bristol. I was having a quick look around on my journey to the west. And what is she doing there? That seems to be the big question. Who is she? Why is she covered up? And there's a few different theories. Well, originally, the restaurant was actually a pharmacy shop. So I'm not really quite sure about the heads on top of the shop. Maybe they have some pharmaceutical connection. Some people say they represent the 4 seasons, and the veiled lady is autumn, and of course the old man next to him is winter. But what about spring and summer? Does the young man look that young for spring? Wouldn't it be a young boy instead? Who knows? And apparently there are shrouded Madonnas around. So is it the Virgin Mary? Then who are the other men with her? Is it Joseph, her husband, next to her? And where's Jesus? Surely if the Virgin is there, Jesus would be one of those younger men. None of them really seem to depict Jesus. So maybe it's not. So what is their story? An article I was reading say the real reason that there has been lost in time. But let's have a deeper look. Now, heads on buildings aren't a new thing. And in the 1800s, there were plenty of buildings with heads carved on it. So maybe this was one of them. After all, the building was used as a pharmacy. Whether the building was actually built to be a pharmacy or the pharmacy moved into this building, we're not quite sure. But originally, there was a pharmacy there in 1868 by William Van Gogh. But if you look at the period, 1868, there was a lot of heads on architecture at the time. But if we really delve into it more, shrouded heads or veiled heads weren't that uncommon at the time. If we take a look back, there's been reports of veiled statues, so to speak, from about the 1700s. And probably one of the most famous ones is the story how William Spencer Cavendish, He was the 6th Duke of Devonshire. And in 1847, he travelled all the way from London, England, to Milan in Italy. Not an easy trip back in those days either. And he went to visit a sculptor who he researched probably could produce this sculpture that he wanted. And he found Raphael Monti. He was about 20 at the time, and what William Spencer Cavendish wanted was a sculpture of a lady with a veil. And so he commissioned Raphael Monti to accomplish this. And in 1847, Monti shipped the sculpture to William Spencer Cavendish. And then it was on display in Chiswick House, where he lived. Today, of course, it's now in the family home in Chatsworth House. Now, Italy was wanting to get away from the grips of Austria and claim their independence. And Monti was a fighter for the cause. The first battle they had, they didn't actually win. And so Monti, in defeat, left Italy to move to London. And he never went back to Italy. And that's where Monti set up his studio and started creating more sculptures of veiled ladies. In fact, even in the Great Exhibition of 1851, he represented Italy with his sculptures. And so it wasn't really uncommon to actually have a statue that was veiled. In fact, it created quite a lot of mystique on who was under the veil. And it was a very little, I suppose you could say, interesting gimmick at the time to create intrigue and mystery. And a lot of artists actually copied the style, you could say. And so it wasn't really unusual at the time. And so there was plenty of veiled statues. And so getting back to the veiled lady in Bristol, it was probably just the style that the artist William von Gogh thought it'd be interesting to have on the building a veiled lady. And over the years, different interpretations have occurred to make people wonder, who is she and why is she? Maybe there is a story behind it all, but until we can find details, records, diaries, we'll probably never know on who this mysterious veiled lady is. And again, it probably comes down to perceptions, because some people say she looks eerie and scary, but other people just say there's a lady with a veil. Is she in mourning? Is she going to get married? Don't forget, brides used to wear a veil before they got married, and then the veil would be lifted at the altar. So what is the story? Well, who knows? It may be lost in time. But I really don't think it was unusual at the time, in the 1860s going into the 1870s, to have veiled statue. And it might have been a good idea, an interesting gimmick, to actually have a veiled person on a building. Because at the time, there was lots of buildings going up with heads all over them. And this could have been just another one. So what do you think? Write your comments below. And if you even have any information about the veiled lady in Bristol, do write your comments. Let me know and share what you think. It'd be interesting to find out. So on that note, that was just a quick one. Nothing really scary, but still it's interesting. And it's also interesting how things can develop and people get wrong ideas. And that's how urban myths develop, because you get these stories and stories develop and then little things get attached to it. And then if you want to go deeper, people can put their energies into it and then it could create something. But leaving it on that note, it's probably just a a sculpture on the building and just happened to be a replica or an inspiration from a movement that was happening at the time. That's my conclusion at the end, and nothing really to be scared about, but it makes it really an interesting fact. And if you're in Bristol, go and visit St. Nicholas Market, where the Mug Shop restaurant is, and have a look at the heads above the shop. Very interesting. And in fact, that whole area is interesting. It's a great example of the markets in the, I would say, early 1800s. That's the feel of the markets and the style of that particular type of markets. Have a look around. And there's a lot of supernatural places or paranormal places around there as well, which I will bring up in another episode. So on that, thanks for joining me. Don't forget, if you've liked this episode, found it interesting, share it with your friends, press the like button, subscribe, and press the bell and the notification button. And that way you won't miss out on my next episode. And if you like, buy me a drink. There's the link below. Help the channel, help me, and you'll be greatly appreciated. And also have a look at our other links down below. We're affiliated with the UK's #1 spiritual shop, the Psychic Tree. Very reasonably priced, very reasonable worldwide shipping, so you don't have to worry if you're not in the UK, and you get 10% off your first order. And there's a few other links for a few other different things down below as well. So have a look, and you might like something down there. So until next time, thanks again for joining me in today's episode, and I hope you're here for the next one. And until then, stay well and happy.